Okay, so the recording has started. Once again, we're here meeting on the college framework. We're the committee that's going to be representing the careers. I received everybody's information based on the Gear Facilitator training when everybody signed up. Can you all see this okay? And there's 10 members of our committee. Zeke and Laura are unable to join us. They're on a college field trip today. And then there's the subcommittees. There's student resources, parent resources, and educator resources that we're going to break up into groups. We have the opportunity through Zoom to actually have subgroups within this presentation, which is kind of a neat feature. So we're going to play around a little bit with that. Nora, if there's any way that you can adjust your camera to show us your face or open up, that would be great. Hey, there you are. Yes. I'm trying to unmute you. Can you? You can hear us okay, Nora? Thumbs up. All's well. Yeah, I'm trying to click. There we are. Okay. You're not muted. I can't hear you. Can you? Do you have a microphone? Okay. All right. She's responding, so. Once again, I'm going to share my screen. And this is the college prep framework for 2019. As you can see, we have the testing, the admissions, finance and college, STEM, and we're the career strand to the right. And this is the 7th grade year. We're going to be doing the overview of endorsements and pathways, building employability and soft skills. Okay, I'm not going to read all that to you. Implementation strategies. And then there's some resources down below. Through Texas Gear Up, ONET Online, Texas Reality Check, and Big Future. And as you continue down, you can see the plan for next year in 8th grade. You get implementation strategies and more online resources. The reason for us meeting today is to prepare for the May 8th Gear Up Facilitator training. What we are tasking the facilitators to do, as you've already done, as I mentioned earlier, we have the subgroups that are taking place, and we're going to be responsible as a subgroup of coming up with the student resource model, and that's going to be Nelda, Zeke, Laura, and Yvette. For parent resources, we have those present, which is Ellie, Carrie, and Amanda. And then for the educator resources, we have Ruben, Nora, and Jessica. And so what our intentions and the reason for creating these committees and subcommittees is as you continue to have meetings, whether it's classroom presentations with your students, when you have parent events, we generally have topics by month. For an example, in the fall, when we're going to be going to HESTEC, there's a good opportunity for y'all to maybe cover STEM careers. Okay, rather than y'all scrambling around trying to come up with something to present on STEM or getting a presenter or someone like that, and we have 55 middle schools trying to do this at the same time, it'd be a lot easier to have a resource like this college prep framework that you can go into the Gear Up Google Drive for the facilitators, and you can just grab one of these modules that's already been created. And so that's the intention behind this, is to have everybody work and basically share best practices as you come up with some modules for students. For parents and for educators, you can make them in 5, 10, 15, 30-minute, whatever increments that you have, and you can grab from there, so you don't have to go out and create this last minute and come, throw some things together. And this is a dynamic instrument that will grow as time goes, just like these online resources. As we discover more through our research phase, you can add to those, and so that obviously that list will grow, and there's more resources that you can then share out and make it as user-friendly as possible. But again, what we want to do, if you have, usually in the fall, they have, I guess once this semester, you have a financial literacy, banking situation. I know April is financial literacy month or something along those with the bankers. And so you can go into the financing of college, they're the middle, and, needs versus wants. You can go grab a needs versus wants module, start working with the kids on, differentiation between tennis shoes or Nike Air Jordans. You can get by with a cheaper version and save that money, for food or other things, more necessity situations. Some of those are no-brainers, but there's some that are going to be more involved. And again, this will just give you resources at your fingertips. And again, that's the impetus behind us creating these and coming up with these resources, just to make your life easier in the long run. Again, this was proposed by y'all from the last grant as far as Garrett facilitators. They were saying, hey, why don't we, work in concert by creating these modules? And that was kind of how this all came about, and it was very effective. We had good feedback and good utilization last grant, and so we wanted to reinstall it or bring it back up again this grant. But as we determined when we're looking through and bringing this up, there's a whole lot of resources that either don't exist anymore. It's 5, 6, 7 years ago when this was put together. Again, you have 7th grade, 8th grade, and we'll follow on to 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So we'd love for these committees to stay together and grow and evolve over time. But that is kind of why we're meeting today, just to start getting things together. You're going to need to come up with a method or a product of choice on how you want to share this information with the rest of the group, and that's going to take place on May 8th with the Garrett facilitator training. Whether, again, if it's going to be kind of a PowerPoint, it's just a few minutes when we're all sharing out. We're not going to we don't want this to take, it could be a whole day or 2-day training by rolling everything out. So we're not expecting you to lead these modules or come up with, 15 or 20-minute presentation for the rest of the group. It's just going to be a quick summary of what you've come up with, ways that you can share this information, different scenarios, etc. And so that's the plan moving forward. Again, May 8th is the due date, and that's just because we want you to be able to present at that time. So within your subcommittees, you're going to basically choose someone to be that spokesperson for your 3 or 4 member group. Plan to have a second Zoom meeting on Tuesday, April 30th, and possibly a kind of a final wrap-up on May 1st. I'd like to poll y'all that are participating today to see if you want morning or afternoon. That's flexible. Or if you want to meet as a subgroup and the 3 or 4 y'all can just Zoom on your own, I can create the link for you, send it to you, and then y'all can just talk among yourselves. And then maybe we can come back on Wednesday and I'll come finalize everything as a group and make sure we're good to go. If you want more time to meet again, I can create these Zoom links. I have my account and I can share it. And I can give one of y'all, like whoever the lead person, I can make them the host for that Zoom. And then they can have the full functionality that I have where I can share my screen, I can do the breakouts and all that kind of good stuff. Does that all make sense? Okay. Are there any questions at this time? If so, just unmute and ask away. I haven't utilized the chat feature, but since it's such a small group, I think we can get by satisfactorily with just talking. Am I that boring? I'm sorry. I need to liven it up and get a song and dance routine here. No, that will definitely come crashing down. Okay, so.
I was trying to think back to the survey. Does it ask a question about like what they want to know more about or what they don't know about? Because like for parent resources, obviously we could, we're gonna pass it out next week already on Monday,
Okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday. Maybe we could kind of glance through some and see what is it that they're wanting. Some of the resources.
That's a great
I don't
idea.
know.
I don't know if you can hear Carrie Ann's just sharing that a lot of what we want to focus in on is answer questions that the students or parents or educators have issues about, or they don't have enough knowledge on internships. Or I know earlier in our TAC meeting, Amanda brought up job shadowing, and that she has friends or people that she knows, for instance, that have seen cops on live PD, and they, hey, that looks really cool, chasing down criminals and doing this. But come to find out that the majority of their time is spent, writing 20, 25 pages of documentation of what happened on their, when they were out doing the bust or doing whatever it is. It's all that paperwork that goes with it, and it's a lot of writing, and they're not necessarily big writers, and that's, they're more of a hands-on, which is why they chose criminal justice and being a sheriff or constable or a policeman. And they're very disillusioned with all the paperwork, and now they're thinking of going into a different career field, but yet they spend all that time in their criminology classes and got their peace officer license, did all the work necessary, and now they're really not enamored with it. And so by having a job shadowing opportunity, they could find out that beforehand, and they could say, this really isn't for me. I'm not a big writer. I don't want to spend all my time behind a computer or keyboard, coming up with all this data that's needed. And so that's something that we want to bring to the table. I know we've been utilizing David Gutierrez from Workforce Solutions and others for college and career fairs. He's a contact that I've made that I continue to reach out to for awesome professionals in the field, from FBI agents to DPS and Border Patrol. You name it, anything in the workforce, he has contacts. They meet on a regular basis, and so I plan on exploring these types of relationships and sharing it out with the rest of all our GEAR Up facilitators and so forth to make your life easier. Today, for instance, we're here at STC, and a couple of our facilitators have had trouble because of the timing of their college and career fairs that STC is not available, but the administrator here, Daniel Montes, is an awesome resource. So I'm going to make sure that they leave with his information. He's already come in a couple times and treated us with coffee and just taken really good care of us. And so by doing exchange of business cards and information like that, now they've got a direct link with an administrator who can hopefully hook them up with a recruiter or someone in the field that can provide some extra support. And so that's how these things go. It's just building relationships, across the board. So I've talked enough. I would like for you guys to do some talking and some discussions amongst yourselves to kind of continue planning. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to stop sharing and go into breakout rooms and see if I can put in breakout room 1. I'm going to assign Nora and Ruben. Okay, and then breakout room 2, I'll put Amanda, Ellie, and Carrie Ann. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're just finding like websites, or we're gonna create a little PowerPoint that we can put in based on the subtopic that we've got for everybody to use.
Okay, I'll purchase. Okay. Trying to work through this. I don't know if you, let me see. Are y'all in your individual rooms yet?
Yes.
Okay. No worries. So what I don't know is if I
I thought we were just gonna look for resources, what pages that we can list on there, and that way the other facilitators have access to it. If they want to have a parent meeting, they can just copy that link.
That's part of the plan. Yes.
So we wouldn't make like small presentations and stuff.
That's kind of where we're headed, but right now it's just kind of creating the links
Just like,
and
this is a
saying,
good website, in case you need it for this, so this is a good website for this stuff.
yeah, and you could do short PowerPoint type presentations where it's just a few slides, you know, and it can list those resources, you know, and like all PowerPoints, you just drop a picture in, you do, you know, some minimal stuff, you know, maybe a career, you know, for DPS, you show someone in a cop car, you know, you have criminology and you have a few pictures, and just, it's whatever you think is going to be the most effective, again, for your audience, for students. I know death by PowerPoint's not fun, but it's just an easy way to kind of focus things that have structure. You can have, you know, list the kind of agenda items, if you will, and stagger it, you know. That's the long range plan. The short range plans is just getting the data together, the research, so that you can have additional areas to pursue. And then there's not just online resources, but, you know,
Hey,
like I said, persons.
Can she hear you right now? Or no?
Ask her. Yeah, the two of y'all communicate and see how that works. Because let me see.
For the parents, maybe something more established. Maybe.
Okay. Nora, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I left, you couldn't hear me, correct? Okay. This is just, yeah, I have it between you and Ruben right now, and I just joined in. There was a question that popped up over here about are we going to be tasked with creating PowerPoints or just going and locating more resources for the other facilitators to use? And it's kind of a little bit of combination of both. During this research phase, yeah, you're going to try to expand on the resources that we have, but it doesn't have to be an online resource necessarily. It could be different persons in the career field that you know that would be a good person to come in to speak to your students, to your staff, to your parents at a meeting, that can talk about particular careers. Again, you know, our intent is to kind of give y'all basically a calendar of, you know, the month of September, it might have a STEM focus. The month of October could be on financial awareness, wants versus needs, things like that. You know, November, and you kind of tag each month with a different process. It could be testing month, and then go into the different. And so that way, as you set up your classroom visitation, as you set up your parent meetings, you have resources to help guide you, to help prepare you. And again, whether that resource is an actual physical person or if it's just information you want to share. You know, sometimes it's nice to have like a guest speaker come in and that you put that person on the flyer, and that just, you know, adds a little ump to it, whether it's a banker and talking about opening accounts for kids. I mean, it could be, like I said, David Gutierrez, talk about workforce solutions and the fact that he has these, you know, summer internship opportunities or job shadowing where they can go in and visit and learn more about particular career fields. And so, you know, this is just the planning stages on how you want to share that information. But again, between now and say Tuesday, it could be, you know, collecting those resources and just kind of brainstorming and thinking. And again, you can do this via email or text one another, or you could Zoom again, like I said. And if you want to do something like that on Monday prior to Tuesday, or use Tuesday's time locked in to just the three of y'all come up with a plan, and then, you know, Wednesday, May 1st, we can, you know, all come together as a group of 10, myself being the 11th person, to just finalize things, or if we need more time, you know, within your individual subcommittee, that's fine. Whatever it takes, just so that you are comfortable and ready for May 8th. Again, these are going to be short presentations. I mean, one of you, one of the three is just going to come out and share the student resource, the parent and the educator resources, and how you plan on unveiling it. And maybe some of your colleagues will say, hey, have you thought about this? Or can you, put that down in a PowerPoint? So whatever it is that you bring as far as the product of choice that you want to share, there might be some tweaking. And the same goes for you when they present. You might have some ideas or be able to share some information. And this is, again, dynamic. It's going to change. It's not set in stone. Whatever you provide on May 8th doesn't necessarily become the finished product. So we can take some advice and fine tune it. And again, we're going to be looking forward mainly to wrapping up the 7th grade year. If there's going to be any opportunities to meet with students or staff or the parents, but we're really going to start focusing on 8th grade and beyond. That makes sense? Okay. Yes,
So
Karen.
for under each subsection, like testing commissions, we have the parent component. Do we look for websites, one for testing, one to help them?
There's already committee for those groups. We are careers only.
Oh, I guess I'm looking at the wrong one.
So if you look, we're the 5th one. Yes, we're the 5th one.
So only under careers, we're looking for a parent resource.
Correct.
In English or Spanish, doesn't matter.
Correct.
If we could
Or
both.
very good.
Yes. And we have a Pinterest site that Nicole created way back when she started,
Okay.
whatever, 7 years ago. There's a ton of information on that, just for instance, that already has a bunch of links and a bunch of resources. That's one place, anywhere that you're comfortable with it. She was tasked. Pinterest was really big right when you came on board, and people were using it for everything. And so she was able to locate a bunch on financial literacy, on applying for, anyway, so that's one thing that you can, consider. Any resources, that you're comfortable with, bringing them to the table, and then kind of determine how you would like to. But see, just like we're convening on the careers, someone else is doing it on testing, someone else is doing it on STEM, someone, so that's the whole impetus behind this, is everybody's going to be doing a little bit to share the load, the burden. So you're not tasked with doing that entire framework by yourself. So everybody's
doing
doing
careers.
simply
with the
careers.
educators.
Yes, you specifically, Nora and Jessica are the ones that are going to be working on the educator resources for careers.
Like that's the last one I'm talking about. So that we have to take the encores, the text encores.
That's what Zeke was talking about. That's what he's going to bring to the
I
table.
have that, because I looked at, I looked at financial table, I was like, that's true, we can use that.
Okay.
And you were saying like the workforce solutions, those are that we can bring in as a resource, but we're not saying exactly what we're gonna do, like, okay, with the text resource, Texas workforce solution, we're gonna have, we don't need to say any of that.
If you go to Texas Workforce Commission, oh my, I've checked out that website. Like we had that PowerPoint, that Zoom that 30-minute Zoom. I went into that to look so I could find the link to that Zoom because it wasn't being shared correctly on the email that Mel had sent me. And there are so many linked resources, crazy. So if you just go to Texas Workforce Commission's website, I think it's like Jobs Y'all. And if you go into that specifically, holy cow, you can probably find more than enough just there.
Is this something so we would bring up to like teachers and stuff? Is that?
Yeah,
they
just
can
as
use
an
it in
extra.
classes or-
Precisely. Because, you want to kind of share, not the burden of the load, but just they can bring it into their classroom depending on the content, the careers, based on, what their core content is. Whether it's English, these are careers that you can do. If you really like to write, have you ever considered, going into this, going into that, being a playwright, coming up with, and that's what's on the Festivus. One of the guys was talking about, you have no idea, but he was ended up working on Star Trek and all those different things. And he just was a real creative writer. And then he ended up going to Hollywood and becoming a bigwig and then meeting people, so you don't have to be the Brad Pitt, behind the screens. You could be one of the ones doing the writing of it and being every bit as successful and needed, for particular.
Okay. So some of these are gonna end up being repeats after some. Like if we use, like if they're looking for something and I'm not working with them, but they say, oh, we're doing this is a resource. These are some resources that we can use. They might end up being so the same.
Yeah. And it just might have, an educator slant, it might have a parent slant, or it could, focus. And it's all kind of for the students regardless, so there's always going to be a student kind of vein throughout, because that's who we're trying to impact. But sometimes to get that information to the students, you go through the parents, or you let the parents know it's okay. If your child wants to get engineering, understand that they're going to probably have to go outside of the valley for a job. There's no, so you might want to reconsider going into that field if you want to stay close to home. Petroleum engineering, you're not going to go, drilling wells around here, but if you want to get into wind turbine energy, there's other engineering opportunities, but you just might be limited. So let me.
Does that cost or is that free?
That's great.
Can speak.
Sorry.